Regents Review number 22. Question number 1. Which situation can be modeled by a linear function? So a linear function has to have a constant rate of change. And a constant rate of change means that there's a common difference. So no multiplying and no percentage. A printer can print one page every 3 seconds. 1 per 3. That looks good. A bank account earns 0.5% interest. No percents. Number of cells in an organism doubles. No multiplying. Attendance of professional sports team decreases by 1.5%. No percents. So that makes option 1 the correct choice. Number 2. Which expression results in an irrational number? An irrational number cannot be written as a ratio of 2 integers. That's the definition. So when I look at all of these expressions, I know that this is irrational and this is irrational, but when I multiply the square root of 3 times the square root of 3, I actually get the square root of 9, which results in a 3. That's rational. 5 times the square root of 81 is the same as 5 times 9. And any math you do with rational numbers will always remain rational. Negative 2/3 plus 1/4. If this is rational, it's a ratio. And this is rational, it's a ratio. There's nothing you can do that will ever make it irrational. And then this last one. 1/3 plus the square root of 3. Well, the square root of 3 is irrational. And if you add a third to it, you just get a little bit more. Number 3. The heights of the football players are shown in this list. Which box plot represents these data? Well, currently these data are not listed in order. So to answer this problem quickly, the fastest way to do it is to enter all of that data into the Stat Edit menu. We're going to put all of that data into list 1. In any order, it doesn't matter. And the calculator can find that 5-number summary for us, even if the data is out of order. Double check. There are 8 numbers in my data set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In my list, double check the list. 76, 70, 72, 70, 69, 71, 78, 74. Now it's time to stat. Arrow over to calc. 1 var stats. Press enter 3 times. Now I'm going to move down my calculator screen just a bit. And I can see here that the median is 71.5 and the min is 69. So I'm going to take a look here at my min. So these two are out. Min, these two are in. And then the median we saw was 71.5. So this is 71. And that makes this one the correct graph, since this one is too high. Question number 4. Which function represents a shift of the graph 4 units to the right and 3 units down? So if you're going to be 3 units down, that's the number outside the grouping symbol. So for us, 3 units down has got to be negative. So these two are out. Now we have to decide which one is 4 units to the right. Now technically that's adding 4, but the formula has a minus sign in it. So any number that goes in here will become a negative now. So x minus 4, quantity squared, minus 3. Question number 5. Explain why the relation below is a function. You'll notice when we look at all of our input values, they're all unique. It's a function because each input has only one output. When they ask you why this one down here cannot be a function, then we would need an input that has two different outputs. So I can put any number I want in this spot as long as it's one of these numbers. I need to repeat that x value. So I'm going to choose to repeat the number 2. Now down here, I have to have a different y value. So I can pick any number I want, but I can't pick 5. It has to be different than 5. So I'm going to pick 6. And if they ask me how I know this is not a function, I would say because this input has two outputs. I forgot my number 1 up there. Number 6, solve algebraically for x. I'm going to need a calculator for this one. .05 times -3 is -0.15. And then the other side I can leave the same. Now I'm going to use some inverse operations. I think I'm going to subtract 0.05x from both sides first. And that's going to give me 0.3x. For the next step, I'll add 7.5 to both sides. Whoops. Let's see what that will give me. On the right side here, I use my calculator. -0.15 plus 7.5 gives me 7.35. Now it's time to divide by my coefficient. And again, 7.35 divided by 0.3 gives me 24.5. And now I need to check. When I check my math, what I do is I type that expression on the left side, but instead of an x, I put my answer. Press enter. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the right side. 0.35, instead of an x, I put my answer. And if I did it right, my two answers will match. Number 7. The owner of an ice cream stand here is keeping track and what it's asking me to do is state the linear regression. So I'm going to need my calculator for this question here. So let's see. I'm going to go to my stat button. In the edit list, I'm going to arrow up once, press clear and enter. And now I can enter both of these sets of data. Let's see here. I've got 72, 75, 81, 78, 77, 76, and 80. Now I'm going to arrow over to list 2, and 126, 183, 263, 229, 200, 185, and 249. Just going to double check my data here. And I have a typo here in my list. So it's a good thing I was checking. 78, and over here I'm also missing a digit. 229, 77, 200, 76, 185, 82, 49. All right, now that all my data is correct, I can calculate this linear regression by pressing Stat, arrow over to Calc, and choose number 4, linreg. Press enter 5 times, and it says we should round all values to the nearest hundredth. So that means I'm going to get y equals 15.13 minus 959.63. Now the next question is asking me for the correlation coefficient. Now you notice I don't see it here. And that's because my stat diagnostics are not turned on. There's two ways to get there. One is in the catalog by pressing second 0, or the other, and arrowing down to the letter D, or the other way is in the mode button. All the way down at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see stat diagnostics. And once I arrow down, I have to highlight the word on. Press enter. And now I can go back to the stat calc, lin reg, and press enter 5 times. And there's that R value. Not R squared, just R. Rounded to the nearest hundredth, that will give us 0.99. State what this correlation coefficient indicates about the linear fit of the data means I need to go grab these X and Y labels. So as X increases, Y increases. And I know that it's increasing because this is positive. So the answer here is that there is a strong positive correlation between X and Y. X is temp and Y is ice cream sales. Between the daily temp and ice cream sales. You can extend a little bit here. As the temperature increases, the ice cream sales increase. Question number 8. Asks you to determine the value of the function f when 1/2 is the input. So every time I see the letter x, I'm going to input the number 1/2. What I've written here is complete and full credit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to enter this fraction with all of these values exactly as I see them. Looks like my answer is 3. So the function f with an input of 1/2 results in a 3. Or you could have just written 3. Number 9. Joe's ordering some water for his swimming pool. The question asks you which one correctly calculates the number of truckloads of water to fill his pool. Now, even if you don't know which unit goes where, the main idea is that all of the units need to cancel out except for one on the top and one on the bottom. And we check to see if we have any units that are opposite of each other. Gallons on the bottom would cancel with gallons on the top, but no other units will cancel. So that one can't be right. For question number 2, I have feet cubed on top and also feet cubed on top. Those won't cancel each other out either. In option 3, the feet cubes canceled out, but the gallons do not. And with option number 4, there's our single values. Truckloads per pool. Number 10. In an arithmetic sequence, the first term is 4. called a sub 1. And the third term is negative 2. What is the common difference? So something happens here, adding or subtracting, and then the same thing has to happen here, adding or subtracting. And how we decide is if this number is getting bigger or smaller. It looks like it's getting smaller, so that must mean we're subtracting. And to get on the number line, so 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we need to get 6 spaces in 2 equal jumps. So that must mean I went down 3 each time. 4 minus 3 is 1, and 1 minus 3 is negative 2. It's a difference of negative 3. Which function has zeros of negative 1, 3, and negative 4? A 0 is when you touch the x-axis at these points, and anything can happen in between here. But typically, it means that you're crossing the x-axis through those 3 points. Now, we could solve this algebraically, but we haven't gotten to that unit yet. So why don't we use our TI-84 just to do this pretty quickly. Now you'll notice in these options here, negative 1, 3, negative 4, that you see those numbers in all of these answer choices. So I'm going to start by typing the first answer choice here in my y equals button. Parentheses, x plus 1, and then parentheses x minus 3, and then parentheses x minus 4. And let's just take a look at what we see. I'm going to press the graph button now, and it looks like I have a wavy function. And when I look at these zeros, negative 1, positive 3, positive 4. So this one has zeros of negative 1, positive 3, and positive 4. What do you notice about the original equation? Are you picking up on a pattern here? Maybe you can predict what you think the zeros will be for option 2. While you're thinking, I'll change my equation here to have a negative 1. Whoops, I need a subtraction sign here. A plus 3, and I'll keep the minus 4. This one has zeros of negative 3, positive 1, and positive 4. Negative 3, positive 1, and positive 4. Is that what you were predicting? Do you see how it's always the opposite of these factors here? So if that's the case, then I need factors that have a positive 1, a negative 3, and a positive 4. Just like this one. But you can always double check by looking at the drawing. And there they are, negative 4, negative 1, and positive 3.